review. Book one was about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's an author and founder of Help for Men and Help for Men Brotherhood. And of course, the author of the latest book, Rebuild, the complete guide for starting over as a man, none other than Mr. Ralph Brewer. Welcome, Mr. Ralph, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I
Sure.
miss?
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. My name is Ralph Brewer. As Daniel mentioned, I am the founder of helpformen.com. And within Help for Men, we also have a private support community for men that we call the HFM, Help for Men Brotherhood. And it all started because as of about 13, almost 14 years ago now, I endured a really big crossroad moment in my life that involved divorce and starting over as a single father to three little children. And I began shortly thereafter writing about my experience. I wrote books. This is Rebuild is my fifth book. And all of these books are around the theme of men in relationships, starting over, dating, sex and marriage. I wrote a book for young men called Real Talk, and it's done very well. My biggest book that I've ever written was one called The Dead Bedroom Fix, which is about sex and marriage, which is the most popular topic I've ever talked about over all the years of doing this. But the thing I'm most proud of is our support community that we have that is growing rapidly right now. We have guys all over the world from the US all the way to Australia. We get together for annual conferences. We have live meetings. We have a lot very active discussion forums. Guys get all my books at no additional cost. We have over 1,000 hours of audio content for our guys because men love audio content. And I'm very proud of what we do. We help out guys from all over the world going through again their own version of this crossroad moment in life.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Ralph. Thank you.
Thank you.
And today, let's talk about your latest book. So, tell us, the word rebuild
Mm.
implies something was broken or dismantled. What are the most common catalysts for collapse you see in the men who come to you and ready to start over?
I see it in various forms. The most common version I see of men and their collapse is the collapse of a marriage. We have men that find out that their wife has stepped out of the relationship and has formed a new relationship via infidelity with a new man. That's a huge, oh my gosh, moment for a lot of guys. We have some
Mhm.
guys that the wife gives them I'm in love with you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. And I want to leave this marriage. And a lot of men craft their entire identity around that of being a husband and a father. And so when that's suddenly yanked out from underneath them, they're left, on very unsteady ground, and they don't know who they are or what they are. They've built their entire life around a title, and it doesn't necessarily need to be mean, or it doesn't need to be the end of their marriage and their relationship. It could be the end of a job. I've spoken to guys that have, after 20 some odd years of being in one company, suddenly the company says we are downsizing. Unfortunately, we're hearing that a lot now with the way the U.S. economy is going, and all the way to some guys being told you've had a heart attack, and if you don't change your lifestyle, you're not going to live that much longer. Bypass surgery, whatever it may be, cancers, all the way to the loss of a loved one. And the worst thing imaginable, men that I speak to, is the loss of a child. That's a real, wake up moment for them, where the men just kind of reconfigure their lives from that point forward. So whatever that point may be for them, but the most common one that I hear from men is the ending of a marriage. It's a major mind shift for a lot of guys.
Your book promises a complete guide beyond career and finances. What are the most overlooked areas of a man's life that require a foundational rebuild after a major setback?
the it all comes down to the beginning, and I break it down into seven pillars that I call that. Picture it like a building that requires pillars to hold the roof up and the foundation. And the pillars are, and I have my little cheat sheet here: identity, which is the number one thing. Who am I at my core, what do I stand for? What is my identity? What are my values? You know, when you strip away Ralph, the IT director for some company, or Ralph, the father to these kids, and the husband to this woman, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I want in life? And if you don't identify that, which is pillar number one, then the rest just collapses. You know, such as, what do I want in a wife? Well, I don't know. What is it that you stand for? What's your identity? What do I want out of a career? Well, I don't know. What do you stand for? What's your identity? You have to answer that. That's the A number one pillar, all the way to masculinity, mindset, mission, money, mating or dating, if you will, you know, who you pick for your partner, and then brotherhood and community, which we obviously address with our Help for Men Brotherhood group. But if you don't address all of those things, the whole building collapses, so to speak. And that's what we outline in the book.
Mr. Rolf, in today's culture, there are many conflicting voices about what it means to be a man. And how does your book help a man cut through a noise to define a healthy, purposeful, and masculinity for himself?
There's there seems to be two extreme messages that men are getting these days. One is masculinity needs to be about dominance and holding your power over people and controlling everyone around you. This is probably what most people would refer to as, quote, toxic masculinity, all the way to people telling them, no, you need to set aside your more manly traits because those are bad. You need to soften those as much as humanly possible. You need to be as agreeable as possible, which happens to be a personality trait that is more common in women. Women tend to be more agreeable than men. So we hear two messages, which is one of be more like women, basically, all the way to you need to stress the most outwardly dominant version of what it means to be a man. And as with a lot of things in life, it seems to be it needs to be somewhere in the middle. But we do see some consistency cross culturally all over the world. When you ask people like, what are some positive things? What does it mean to you to man or woman? What does it mean to you to have a masculine man in your life? And often that means being the unshakable force when everything in the world seems unsteady, the one we can go to for guidance, for advice, someone to be that unshakable, steady force within the family, if you will. And that always seems to be the man, right or wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's something that we need to take pride in as men. And it's something that we need to be mindful of as men in our families. We need to show, to exhibit those traits to our loved ones, to our spouse and our children. Um, Stop apologizing for being a man is something that I say to a lot of guys lately, because there's a lot of negative things out there about the more you flex your masculinity, the more toxic it is. And it's like, no, not necessarily. There's a lot of positives around being a man. And we know that a lot of women aren't attracted to flagrant signs of weakness or resentment on the part of their male partner. Women tend to respond to clarity and strength from their partner. And those are all things that can be labeled as masculine, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mr. Ralph, what is the single most important mindset shift a man must make to move from seeing himself as a victim of these circumstances to the architect of his rebuild?
Very good question. I was just about to say when you beat me to it. Right now, there's very much a cultural thing with both genders. And by the way, we're speaking of in terms of a very heteronormative model here. That's where I'm a hetero guy, so that's the world I know. No slight against our gay brothers and sisters out there, but the pain that you experience, that a lot of guys experience in these rock bottom moments, as we call them, that's kind of the price to pay for wisdom. Pretty much every great man that I've ever known has gone through a major crossroad moment, a very much a rock bottom moment in their life. And they have in turn figured out a way to take that pain and transform it into something positive in their life, something that they can learn from, as opposed to, woe is me, this bad thing happened to me, everyone is against me, all women are bad, the world is conspiring against us men. That mindset is very, very addictive, and it's really out there. There's plenty of material out there that tell men the women are everything that's wrong with the world. And the more you consume that and the more that becomes part of your life, the more you realize it's getting you exactly nowhere in life. So why not do, the Stoics? There's a Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius and so forth, which says it's not so much about what happens to you in life, because bad things happen to everybody. It's how you respond to it. And that's very true. And as a man, as I'm getting older, I just hit 50 years of age, you see that again and again in life. Bad things happen to really good people. It's the tough ones, the successful ones, the great ones, quote unquote, in our life that take that and go, well, let me learn from this and keep going and build from it. Like I say, pretty much every great man before you has done the exact same thing.
The practical blueprint, Mr. Ralph. Walk us through the first 72 hours of a rebuild. When a man hits rock bottom, what are the two or three non negotiable actions he must take to stop the downward spiral and plant his first flag?
You have some great questions, Daniel. Good job. Well, you really got me thinking. Number one is to take care of yourself. And we could split that into different categories. Take care of yourself physically. That may mean going to a physician and saying, I need help. I'm overcome with anxiety, depression. Maybe you're having difficulty sleeping. I've been through all of these things. And there's nothing wrong with, at least temporarily, saying maybe doctor medication may help, maybe going to a therapist may help. All these things that will help you take care of your mind and body. Without that, it's just downhill fast. What you don't want to do is go down the road of self medicating in terms of alcohol, drugs. There are a lot of men that I talk to, by virtue of their very anxious temperament, seek out help in the form of, let me go out and form relationships with new women because that will make me feel better. They're really outsourcing their sense of self-worth and validation by virtue of, it may be drugs, it may be alcohol, it may be women. And it may feel good temporarily, but it doesn't address kind of the big issues. What you need to address first of all is taking care of your health. So that's what I would tell a lot of guys. It's all of these things that I'm talking about can all be summarized under one category, which is, don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, I need help. And that is something, unfortunately, that a lot of men have a very real problem with, because it, quote, makes you sound weak. They don't want to do that. It's nonsense. And two is, a lot of men just haven't done that a lot in their life at all. They don't have a lot of practice with that. There's this lone wolf mentality amongst a lot of men. I'll just fix it myself. I'm fine. I don't need help. I'll just put myself in my, a newly divorced man, let's say. I'll just stay in my little apartment. I'll go to my job and I'll come home every day and I'll just, to heck with everybody else. I'll just fix this myself. And that's a one-way road to depression and not getting better. It's okay to raise your hand and say, I need a little help here. And that's something a lot of men just don't do. So right off the bat, first 72 hours, admit you need help. A lot of you have been through a lot of trauma. A lot of you guys out there, this trauma is not a word I use loosely. It can lead to some not so good mental and physical problems. So you need to address it.
Mr. Ralph, a rebuild requires immense energy. Where should a man who feels completely depleted, emotionally, financially, or spiritually, find the initial fuel to even begin?
It all goes back to that help, doesn't it? It all goes back to the
Mhm.
raising of a hand and saying, need a little help here. And that may be in the form of, hey, physician, hey, therapist, hey, support group, hey, friends. This is something that a lot of men don't address properly, which is the building of their own social group. Women are way better at that than men are, which is why a lot of men see post divorce, their new ex wife has a community surrounding her and helping her, and the man doesn't have much of anything. And a lot of men misconstrue that as a sexist thing, an anti male thing, but it's more of, she did a much better job of constructing community around herself much better than the man did. So right off the bat, you're feeling horrible. You determine you need help. A lot of men go, I don't know who to turn to. I have one buddy that I talk to every now and then, but he's busy with his kids and his wife and work. I have another guy that I used to work with, but now he lives across the country. So it's a good time to build that network yourself. And we happen to have one at the Brotherhood at helpformen.com. So check that out. Guys that are all going through this same sort of thing.
Mr. Ralph, as an author, founder, what are your short term and long term goals?
To build the Brotherhood group as big as we can. My goal is to hit 5,000 members. We're not quite there yet, but we're on our way. To keep writing. There is something I've learned over the years of doing this is to find the thing, whatever that thing may be, keeps you energized, keeps you going, keeps you reaching, and keeps you striving for something. And to me, that's creating things. I've always been a creative kind of guy. And I've really found my thing with writing. And I know it's my thing because for those that have written, and you've spoken to a lot of writers, I'm sure, Daniel, it's
Mhm.
you found your thing when you sit down to do it and you look up at the clock and 6 hours have gone by like that. It's a passion. It's something that really it kind of consumes you, and what I found is it's too much. Sometimes you can get burnt out very easily. When you set aside eating and drinking water and sleeping, because next thing you know is 6, 8, 10 hours go by. It's something that you have a big passion for, but at the same time it can consume you. It can be too much. So for me, I want to keep writing, but I have to realize, got to limit it. Can't do it too much, or else I can become unhealthy. And helping men, there's things that really get me going. One is speaking one-on-one to people. Guys can book time with me within our brotherhood, and people outside and for general public can book time with me, and I love it. I love talking to people. I always look forward to it. I love hearing people's stories. I love sharing my wisdom, if you will, over the years of doing this and talking to so many other people, and just continue to help as many men as we can, because we have a lot of guys out there that are going through, strange as it may sound to some of you out there listening to this, because you don't have any connection to this world, there are a lot of men going through a rebuild process as we speak. And you may not even know it. That guy going through a divorce at the office, that may have shattered his world. Health scares. The guy just got laid off. We all know these people, and they all need a little bit of help. And that's what I'm here for.
And good luck to your goals, Mr. Ralph, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Oh, wow. The guys that want to be like me. If there's one secret to success, I would say whatever it is, jump on it and do it. So, for example, I've had people when I first started writing and talking about what it is I'm doing, people would suggest you should write a book on this, and I jumped on it instantly. I didn't say, "Oh, who am I to write a book? I've never written a book before. What if the book doesn't sell anything? Then that's a lot of wasted hours." I just did it. And then some of those things were not so successful. The Dead Bedroom Fix there you see on the screen, that's the third edition of that book. The first two editions sold hundreds of thousands of copies. Who would have thought? And by the way, that was my first ever book that I wrote. If it wasn't for taking action and just jumping on it and saying, "Oh well, what do I have to lose?" I wouldn't have reached hundreds of thousands of men and grown, to the organization that I have today, all because I jumped on an opportunity and I really didn't care if I failed or not. I think something that really helped me along that way was that I wasn't talking about investing thousands of dollars or years of my time or anything like that. It was at the time just a side project, if you will, but it took up, months of my time to get it done. But that really showed me, like, whatever it is, go for it, do it. Don't listen to the naysayers. Just take that leap.
Yes, go for it, people. Go for it and stop procrastinating. If you have the talent, please do share to the world. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Ralph. And can you please recommend a book or books to influence your journey?
Recommend somebody else's book.
Please.
There is a book by an author who I consider a friend, who is probably one of, if not the most popular book, self-help book written for men, and it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and it is all about codependency in men. And that author is Dr. Robert Glover. I recommend that book to basically every man that comes to me, because I attract a lot of codependent men to my material, a lot of anxiously attached men. That is a book for you guys, along with the Dead Bedroom Fix, Rebuild, Divorce Panic, Real Talk, Red Flags, of course. But if somebody else's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. Huge, huge, big eye opening thing for me, as well as pretty much every man who reads it.
Thank you for that recommended books, Mr. Ralph. And what is the most common relapse point you see in a man's rebuilding journey? And what is the strategy for getting back on track when they are inevitably stumbles?
The number one relapse moment, what a great question, that I hear is I tell men that are freshly divorced, set aside women and dating for a while. Give it at least a year. Just work on yourself. You've endured a trauma. You need to get your finances in order. You need to focus on your children if you have children, focus on your career and your craft. Romance is something that takes up a lot of headspace and a lot of energy. And let's just set that aside now because you are going to attract broken individuals to you because you are broken yourself. Almost 100% of men don't listen to my advice. Almost 100% of them date right away. And almost 100% of them say, yeah, that was a mistake because they attracted broken to them and it ended up in a lot of drama and a lot of heartache. And some of them say the breakup that they felt from the first relationship post divorce was actually more painful than the divorce that they endured because that new relationship gave them a sense of hope and then it came crashing down again and they're like, oh, here I go, I'm depressed all over again. And a lot of them end up saying, yeah, I should have listened to your advice. I should have set aside dating for a while. And they go back to the drawing board and they, go back to the therapy, go back to our groups and our meetings and talk it out. And we hear some of those stories, and some of the stories are hilarious about, all the drama that they endure, but it is pretty painful. And it's a hard lesson that all these guys have to learn. And I've been there and done that myself.
Mr. Ralph, having guided countless men through this process, what has been the most surprising or humbling lesson you've learned about human capacity for resilience and renewal?
I have heard horror stories. I mean, some things that just after I'm done talking to these men one on one, I have to go lay down because it's just so. I'm a very empathic individual. I'm a pretty sensitive guy. So to hear all these stories of pain and loss and abuse, it's a lot for me. But you realize you put it perfectly that it's a testimony to the human spirit just how much people can endure. And when you have a guy who has a house full of children and his wife leaves and the wife is now an alcoholic or a drug addict and is going through all kinds of legal problems and everything else and he has a career that is more than full time and now he's in charge of a house of four kids and he's doing it all by himself because he moved across country from his family, you realize, oh wow, you hate to say it, but it's one of those moments of, man, I thought I had it bad. And then you hear all these stories where you realize, oh wow, you actually got off easy in this. These poor guys having, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, losing time with their kids, fighting legal battles just to see their children. But in the end, all these guys come out ahead. And all these men say the same thing. It was hell going through that process. But you know what? I'm glad I did because I learned a lot about myself and I learned what I can endure and I learned I'm a pretty tough dude.
Hmm. Definitely. Mr. Ralph, success after a rebuild looks like different. How do you help a man define what successful life looks like on the other side?
Really, it varies person to person. I mean, we have some men that just the idea of being like debt free, for example. Let's say a guy goes through a terrible divorce and his finances are a wreck and he's lost his job or whatever it may be. To him, getting back on his feet financially, being debt free, and being able to finally breathe, that's his template for success. While other guys, it's forming a healthy romantic relationship with a woman who's secure and he's secure and it's free of all that dysfunction he had before. That's their model for success. So it doesn't necessarily need to be financial. It doesn't mean selling millions of books or whatever it may be. Everybody has their own little model for it. And don't listen to others that try to define it for you. You could be an artist, you could make not a penny. But to you, staring at your thing that you created, wherever that may be, that's your success. So it's different for everybody.
Yes, success is different from everyone. So, Mr. Ralph, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my Abstract Essay is already in fifth season. Abstract Poetry in second season, and my Book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season, and my Food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, Love Letters, and Movie 101 review, Music 101 are in fourth season, and My Baby Podcast, Law 101, and Mental Health, and Bible Verses 101, and Science 101, and Sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Ralph, if you could give one piece of courage for to the man listening right now, what would it be?
Whatever you're thinking of, you can do it. Don't listen to others that say this trauma you've endured is too much, the world is against you, you're going to fail, you're going to forever be miserable, whatever it may be. That listening to those folks and living out that, exemplifying that, gets you exactly nowhere in life. You know, I'm here to tell you, and plenty of other men who have been there and done that and come out pretty good in the end will tell you getting better as possible. The pain and the misery and the hell that you're experiencing, it's not going to be forever. And believe it or not, you will end up better in the long run. You'll be a bigger, better, and stronger man after all of this. Just don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask for help.
Yes, people, if you need help, please do ask for help, and you will become bigger, better, and bolder, as Mr. Ralph saying. So, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the
Thank
world,
you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Ralph. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Say again, I'm sorry, one more time.
Can you please invite our listeners to support all your books or
Yes.
whatever projects?
Guys, you can see everything that I do at helpformen.com. All the books are there. We have courses, we have the Brotherhood, we articles, videos, you name it, it's on there. So check it out at helpformen.com. And if you want to join the Brotherhood, jump right to the join page at helpformen.com/join.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Ralph Brewer because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Ralph, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Modicon people, see you soon.